Hello, this is Richard Pears with Finextra TV, and I'm with Mikkel Larsen from DBS Bank, Chief Sustainability Officer. Thanks very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So really excited in your title, and particularly obviously with DBS Bank being such a progressive bank. I'd love to know what sustainable finance means to you and what do you think the opportunities and challenges are?
Well, thank you. Reality is that in Asia, the whole thing about sustainability, although it's very deep-rooted, the problems we have, the topic is quite nascent. So for us, we've been trying to pioneer this by creating real solutions to some of these problems. And because at the same time, we're realizing that the situation that we're in out there, we're creating enormous environmental impact as the economies grow. So for us, it's about trying to be less philosophical and trying to create real solution for some of these things.
And give us an idea of what those sort of solutions are and maybe the sort of impact that you're having today, and how far you think we need to go to actually, really start to dial up the impact side of things.
Right. So we've been doing what many other banks have been doing. We've been trying to do what is available within financial engineering, green bonds, environmentally linked notes, all these types of things. But we've been trying to think about how can we use what we're good at, and we've been known as the best bank in the world for digital finance. And so what we've been trying to use is some of that capabilities in creating real solutions. And some of the things we've been trying to do, for example, is we've been realizing we're the largest bank in Singapore. We've got to be able to use some of this to make it easy for our consumers to make environmentally conscious behaviors. So we've been trying to create carbon footprint scorecards for them, and we've been giving them solutions so that they can move their money to more sustainable, environmentally conscious investment options. These are practical things that people can understand and can make a real impact with from day one.
Fantastic. And so the question often comes up when we talk about sustainable finance and ESG, etc., which is about the quality of data, and can we really sort of believe what we're being told and what we're investing in and so forth. How do you go about that? What's your feeling?
Right. I think it's important to have a positive outlook on these things here, because it's easy to get scared by the vast amount of data that you really need if you want to do a good job. But reality is that some of the information is available, and not all information is equally important. So we've been trying to capture some of the data around, for example, the carbon footprint that we're making and that some of the investing companies are making. And that in itself goes a long way in trying to understand it. Another thing we've been trying to do very credibly is to say the same way as our private banking clients can have a credit scorecard, they know the riskiness of their portfolio, why not give them one for the environmental and social footprint? But to be working on something like that, you've got to go with established sources of rating agencies. So you could take one of the rating agencies today and you could pair that with the credit rating that their portfolio have, and you get a very easy entry point into a conversation. So again, this is all about making people understand that they can have a real impact where they're putting their money.
Absolutely right. So as you're starting to do that, and then what kind of channels, and I think you're starting to allude to it, what channels for businesses and consumers are you creating, so that they can actually start to act and react to these services and tools you're giving them?
Right. So it's very, let's differentiate it between the different types of businesses that we do.
Yeah.
In our institutional banking businesses or commercial banking businesses, it is, as I mentioned, very much about being able to issue green loans, green bonds, and these types of things. It doesn't really require a lot of data, except for that you have to report a fair bit. In the private banking space, it is very much around having products on our shelves that allow these type of things. And as I mentioned, I think in the consumer space, before you even make the products available, you got to create the awareness.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was mentioning that a lot of the stuff that we're doing today is really around trying to raise the awareness about telling them the impact that they can make in their own personal choices.
Absolutely.
And I think that comes before trying to create the financial product, because we're not even there on the awareness side.
Okay. So when we start to then get to the real impact, so down in the emerging economies, the lives of people who are working in farming or whatever it may be, do you believe that the sort of the finance, as it trickles all the way through sort of supply chains and back up again to inform the pools of data within the financial services industry. What do you think we need to do to get to that kind of nirvana, if you will, of a circular economy of both data and value?
Right. I think there is enormous value in influencing the the downstream, the retailers, in trying to create a push for data through their supply chain.
Yeah.
So the pressure that is being created today by them having to report some of these things is vitally important in the trickle-down effect. And I think this will only seem to increase. But I think, on the other hand, we also have to be realistic, and we need new technologies to really capture the data that we need. Because in a supply chain, at the end of it, you will find that there's a lot of number of smallholders which are unable, unless we give them the ability to report, they will not be able to report. So there's an enormous amount of education that needs to take place, but we also need to make it easy for them to report. So, for example, the mobile technology solutions that you can have, the satellite technology that will help, that blockchain solutions. This sounds very complicated, but we've seen them work. We ourselves, for example, have looked to work with a company called Halcyon in creating transparency in the supply chain. And the point here is that we as consumers oftentimes are willing to pay a premium for the final product if we know that it has been sourced responsibly.
Yeah.
But we're nervous about doing that because we don't really know where all the component parts come from. So we developed a digital platform where, in this case it was rubber, where we know where the sources of the rubber is, and you can trace that all the way through to the ultimate product. And why would a bank do something like that?
Yeah.
We do that because we have the ability to finance the supply chain. And it's, of course, the right thing to do. So I think we need these type of digital solutions to actually work in the favor of the smallholders.
Yeah.
And when they see that the product that they're developing actually fetches a premium in the market, then it's a win-win situation.
I think that's so true. I remember with Microsoft, there's a great case study with La Caixa Bank in Spain, where all of the smallholders doing their wine growing in a drought region have been given Internet of Things sensors and so forth by the bank. That's actually helping them to manage their water production and distribution much more easily. And you think, well, why is the bank doing that? Well, actually, because it's improving their risk profile of the yield that's coming back out of those farmers. So it's beneficial to the environment, to the farmers, to the business of banking as well. So I think those solutions are there.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Well, listen, thank you so much indeed for your time. I feel we could talk for hours, but great to speak to you, and look forward to more detail from you soon.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.